bottom of the ninth. I'm in Slendy, Ego, Slendy, Ego, Slendy, Ego, Slendy, hey. You already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. But you know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 522 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden with you here. It is November 24th, 2023, Black Friday. Hopefully everybody is, taking advantage of some of the time off here. Hopefully most of you are not having to work the day after Thanksgiving. But just wanted to do a show here today, promote some of the sales that are going on, with Foco and Breaking Tea and some other sites that I have seen to help Padre fans out, get some sales on some Padre swag before the prices go back to the normal prices. So I will help you out there before we get going here with which Padres aren't going to be returning in 2024. Free agents not coming back. We could, there's plenty of time to talk about the Juan Soto topic. Is he going to return or not? I could include him on the list of Padres not returning in 2024. It feels like that's the way it's going to go, but obviously we'll be talking about that, I'm sure, plenty here in the off season. Before we get started, like I just mentioned, Black Friday today. I just want to mention some of the sites that do have sales going on. Foco, they have sale going on right now, Padres bobbleheads and collectibles. If you click that link in my description here, it'll take you to the Foco site, to the Padres collection, and you will see some discounts there. BreakingT.com, you click the link in the description there. They've got some great Padres shirts and sweatshirts, not just Padres, but San Diego State and San Diego Wave as well. So use that to your advantage. And then I did see Lids, I believe, has some discounts going on Black Friday. I'm sure everyone does. I'm sure like Dick's Sporting Goods has some stuff going on. MLB.com, I'm sure, the Padres shop does have some stuff going on. I did just get an email, so I want to pull that back up so I can get the actual number for you, how discounted some of these items are on the Padres site here. Today only, so if you're listening to this on November 24th, Black Friday, up to 50% off select apparel and some other items as well. Spend $125 and receive a snow globe patch, and spend $225 to receive a team store player bobblehead today. That is on the Padres, at the Padres team store, and I believe that might only be in person. Is that only in person? No, it works online as well. There's a link that they have online. 30% off site-wide is on MLB Shop, like the online shop. So you can use that to your advantage. For example, like the City Connect hat I'm seeing here on the Padres online shop, it usually is like $46 plus tax. It's now $32.19 plus tax. I see a Tatis jersey here, camo, was $145. Now it's less than $95. So use that to your advantage if you wish, getting ahead on some of those, Christmas gifts and all that. All right, let's get into free agents that I don't think are going to be coming back. I'm trying to predict this. If you disagree with some of my predictions, please let me know here in the YouTube comments or on social media at Talking Friars on Twitter or X and on Instagram. I try to get back to everyone, at least that is like directing a question at me or someone that messages me. So you can do that there or again in the YouTube comments. So I already did an episode on who I think is staying. I said Nick Martinez, Jurickson Profar. But there have been a couple more guys that have become free agents that were on the Padres this past season that I think will end up staying. I think Austin Nola will end up staying. Now, another team could end up signing him, but I don't know if they're going to have a guaranteed major league roster spot for Austin Nola because there are question marks there. So I see the Padres bringing Austin Nola back on a minor league deal. I feel like he likes it in the Padres organization. Now, he could go be in the Phillies organization because his brother's going to be there now long term. 7-year deal that he just signed. Congratulations to the Nola family there. But I feel like the Padres would be willing to have Austin Nola back. I don't know how many teams want to bring Austin Nola in when he doesn't provide much offense. He's not familiar with the pitching staff. And with Nola, maybe he just, wants to be where he is comfortable in this Padres organization. And he does have some history with some of the people obviously on the coaching staff, obviously has history with the pitchers on the staff. And if an injury happens and Austin Nola is healthy, then Austin Nola will be in the big leagues with the Padres. If let's say he goes to AAA El Paso, I don't know what the Padres' plan is going to be catching wise. I hope it's not just Camposano and Brett Sullivan, and then you have to go with your El Paso catcher. Hopefully, they bring in someone else. Although the free agent market isn't that great catching wise, so obviously a lot of Padres fans are going to say, "Gary, bring Gary back." But I think he's one of the better offensive catchers available on the market, and he had a good year with the Padres before he got hurt. Slugging, I thought he was pretty good behind the plate. When Blake Snell was on the mound with him, there was a great relationship there. So I think there's a thought that he might tag along with Blake wherever Blake goes, assuming that there's a spot available there. So Gary is one of those guys I don't see returning, and money wise, like he earned, I don't know how much. I mean, if Christian Vasquez is getting $10 million a year from the Minnesota Twins, he signed a 3-year deal with the Twins. How much money is Gary Sanchez going to get? Around $10 million at least. And do the Padres want to give $10 million a year to a catcher when they have Camposano, who they want to get more reps and be the starting catcher? Gary Sanchez, I feel like it would be more split playing time there. If you're going to give around $10 million to someone like Gary Sanchez, I think you need Gary playing every day. So I don't think Gary's going to come back. I think Tim Hill is someone that will come back. I know this show's about who isn't going to return, and I'm going to get to those names, obviously. But there were a couple names that got non-tendered. I think Tim Hill will come back. Um, it has to be less than $2.5 million. Will a team be willing to give Tim Hill more than what the Padres would be willing to give Tim Hill? Maybe, probably. And I know a lot of this is about the money, and it is a business, and usually players go to the team that is the highest bidder. But what if all of these teams offer Tim Hill a 1-year deal, or it's like a minor league invite, invite to spring training? Is Tim Hill going to go to those teams, or is he going to go back to the Padres? I think the Padres are okay with having Tim Hill in their bullpen. I just don't think that they wanted to pay him as much as he was going to get paid, which I think was around $2.5 million. They're trying to save money wherever they can. So a guy Tim Hill is a replaceable arm. If you're looking at WAR and some of his numbers, like, yeah, you can replace that with another lefty. But I feel like he does fit well in the clubhouse. I feel like he likes it with the Padres. He obviously is out in the community all of the time. So I don't feel strongly that he's going to return, but I just don't know. It's kind of like the Austin Nola market. I don't know how strong that market is going to be for one of those guys. And I feel like those guys might sign late in the offseason when there's a bunch of guys that have found homes and teams are just looking to fill out their rosters or looking for players to invite to spring training, and they'll latch on with the team. So I don't feel strongly about Nolan Hill returning, but I think that they definitely have a stronger chance of returning than these other guys that I'm going to talk about. And I think Austin Nola, I don't know how valued he is in other organizations, but it feels like he is valued with the Padres. They just know that they didn't want to pay him as much money as he was, going to make in arbitration, right? I think he's in arbitration. Yeah, I think he was. By the way, staying, I said Nick Martinez, I said Jurickson Profar as well. Seth Lugo is a guy that is not going to return. It doesn't seem like. There was a report out. I saw this on MLB Trade Rumors on Seth Lugo. And where is it? There's a ton of interest in Seth Lugo. Multiple reports have indicated that the demand for starting pitching is huge this offseason, and one player that could benefit is right-hander Seth Lugo. In an appearance on Foul Territory, Robert Murray reported that Lugo's market is extensive and more than half the league has checked in on him. And I think his market is extensive, not just because he proved that he can start this past year, but he can be a valuable guy in the bullpen as well. He pitched high leverage innings for the New York Mets when they won over 100 games, I think it was, right? In 2022. So he can do both. If it doesn't work out in the rotation, he can go to the bullpen. He can be a guy that I think would be super valuable on a postseason team. We see in the postseason where these teams make it and they have like two starters and the bullpen gets taxed. Well, Lugo can start a game, or if your bullpen's getting taxed and you need someone to go from the rotation because you have a strong rotation, let's say, to the bullpen, he can do that and be pretty darn valuable, I would expect, for a postseason team there. So, yeah, I mean, you look at teams like I know the Cardinals, they already brought in kind of a couple back end rotation guys, Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn. But I think teams like the Giants, the Dodgers, the Yankees probably want starting pitching. We know the Padres want starting pitching. The Cubs probably want starting pitching. Maybe the Mets would, you know, express interest again. What other teams in the National League? The Brewers, Corbin Burns, they might deal him. And they're already going to be down Brandon Woodruff, or Brandon Woodruff's a free agent now. So we'll see what happens with their situation. Every team can want more starting pitching. The Diamondbacks, we saw them with Brandon Pfaadt and then Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly. But what about the back end of their rotation? If you go to the American League, it feels like the Angels always want starting pitching, and they're willing sometimes to overpay for that starting pitching. The Mariners, I don't know. I don't really know what their plan is. They've made some head scratching decisions here over the last couple of years, and this offseason, it seems like they're already cutting some salary, saving some money with the trade of Suarez to the Arizona Diamondbacks. So I don't know about them. Um, AL Central, the Twins are probably going to lose Sonny Gray, Kenta Maeda maybe. So maybe they'd be interested in someone like Seth Lugo. Cleveland Guardians, feels like they always have pitching, but they might bring in someone on a 1-year deal. The Rays, they don't spend much on starting pitching, but they have spent a little bit in the past, right? They brought in Zach Eflin. They traded for, I think, Aaron Savali, a vet starter, at the deadline this past year. Red Sox, maybe they look for some starting. I mean, again, I'm just going through a bunch of teams because a bunch of teams are going to want starting pitching. And there are going to be some teams that are going to miss out on the guys like Yamamoto or Snell, or they don't want to pay for someone like Snell. They think it's too risky. So let's give a shorter deal to someone like Seth Lugo. Or they don't want to pay Sonny Gray, or they can't pay Sonny Gray. So Seth Lugo, he's going to get paid. I'd be surprised if he gets a deal less than 3 years. And I feel like he's going to get more than $10 million per year on that deal. And are the Padres in a spot to do that? Do they want to do that? Preller might have a plan where he goes in and just trades for pitching because it's controllable. He's willing to give up a prospect, a couple prospects, or attach a big leaguer on a trade. We'll see what happens. But Seth Lugo, I feel that might be a little bit out of the Padres' price range. And then Michael Wacha, I don't know what he's going to command either. I think he's not going to come back. Again, I think Nick Martinez, of the three, Lugo, Wacha, and Martinez, I think Martinez is that one guy to come back. Wacha, he feels like a Cardinal again. I know, obviously, he was with the Cardinals. There's other teams as well, a ton of teams. I think it was Ken Rosenthal the other day that said, like, there's 7, 8 teams that are looking for multiple starting pitchers. Like, there's a lot of teams out there. And then you factor in the teams that are just looking for starting pitching, and maybe they don't know the number that they're looking for because it might change based on certain guys that come in, or they're not as confident in the depth guys they sign, so they want to add another starter, or they add a couple big starters and then maybe they lessen the number and they just go down to minor league spring training invite depth guys. So we'll see where Wacha goes. But I think that, the Padres, if they wanted to Wacha back, I felt like they were going to take the club options, which was around $16 million per year for Wacha. And he wasn't going to take the player options. And it's risky. With the state of this rotation, it doesn't look great right now. And I know it's the beginning of the offseason. It could look better. We could be more confident in this rotation come spring training in February, right? I hope that's the case. Right now, Darvish, Musgrove, and then Waldron, Avila fighting for a 5 spot in the rotation, maybe. Who knows about Adam Mazer or Iriarte? We'll see if they'd be ready beginning of the year. Adrian Morhone, don't talk about him. I don't think that you should be relying on him as any starting pitching option to be healthy all the time. So yeah, they need starting pitching help. And I thought that, if they really want to walk him back and they wanted another starter in there, they would have just brought him back on the club options. But I don't think that they want to take that risk in bringing Walker back and maybe feeling like they overpaid for him, and then he gets hurt because he does have injury history. I don't know. I just feel like there's other teams out there that are willing to pay Walker more than what the Padres are going to be willing to pay Michael Wacha. As I'm talking about what the Padres, what they might be willing to pay some of these Padres players, I want to look at their payroll right now and where does that stand after the non-tenders. I know I went through this when that non-tender day was happening, but I think that Fangraphs had not taken into account some of the moves that the Padres had made. Let's see, 2024 payroll pages. I'm going on Fangraphs. Estimated 2024 payroll, $189 million. So $11 million of room for probably another outfielder, depth, first base, DH, a few starting pitchers, catcher, bullpen help, right? You want bullpen help. And you can make trades for guys that are on rookie contracts and it's not expensive. But I don't think you're going to be making every move as a trade. I don't think every move is going to be you trading a Scott Barlow contract and bringing in Elio De Los Santos, where you're saving $6 million there. I don't think every move you're going to be saving money on them. So it's not a lot of room. And how many of those players that you sign, if you have, let's say, $11 million of room around that, because $200 million is the number that's being floated out there, right? How many quality players, impact players are you bringing in with that budget? I wasn't thinking about the Enyel De Los Santos trade, so AJ Preller thinks about everything and anything. So again, he could be making a bunch of trades, trade some guys on the roster to save some room, bring in controllable rookie contract guys that he thinks are ready to go, that his scouting department or whatever thinks that those guys are ready to go and help this big league club. He could give shots to Eggy Rosario and Matthew Batten on the bench, and those guys aren't making a ton of money. He could surprise us, but right now I just don't feel like the Padres have the room to bring in these impact players. I mean, Jung-Hoo Lee was someone, and I might talk about this next week. Today feels like Monday. I might talk about this next week. Some of the players that MLB Trade Rumors has the Padres bringing in, but someone like Jung-Hoo Lee, let's say it's $10 million a year for that guy, or $15 million a year. I don't know what the total is going to be, but there's a lot of teams. There's definitely double-digit teams that are interested in Jung-Hoo Lee, who is an outfielder. That puts the Padres right up there at 20 million, or not 20, at $200 million. So again, there's just not a lot of room to be spending right now. Some other guys I don't think are going to be returning. Josh Hader, obviously. I mean, I saw Josh Hader's. Are they married? Josh Hader's wife, Maria. She liked a tweet that had Josh Hader being predicted to go to the Texas Rangers. It feels like everyone is predicting that. I feel like that's the obvious fit. A team that's coming off a World Series, they brought in a bunch of money, they need relief help, and they'll spend on Josh Hader. I feel like that's what they would do. So yeah, he's not coming back. And even if it wasn't the Rangers, the Padres are not going to give Josh Hader 80 mil, 100 mil to be a reliever. Like, it's not happening. Robert Suarez was their big reliever contract, and that's like half of what Josh Hader is probably going to want. He might get that. All it takes is one team on the free agent market, right? Blake Snell, I don't think he's going to come back. He has love for the Padres. I feel he has love for the city of San Diego, but are the Padres in the spot to bring Blake Snell back? Not just financially, but do they want to take the chance? they've had a plenty of history here recently where they go buy someone, they go pay for someone that has already hit their peak or they just had their peak. And it's like they forget that that person's not going to perform like that again in this contract. Don't pay for what they did, pay for what they're going to give you. And with Blake Snell, what is he going to give you? I don't think he's going to give you Cy Young seasons all over the place in this next contract. I'm I don't want to make it seem like he's 37 years old and has nothing left in the tank. He does, but all those walks, we know that's who he is. And I understand his point and Ruben Niebla's point about there's good walks, but 0 count starting from there. Like, sure, if you're behind 3-1 or if it's a good hitter up at the plate, you're behind in the count. Sure, there's a thing as a good walk, right? You don't want to throw one down the middle of the plate, make a mistake, and then you pay for it more, right? But when it's like 0 count and you have, 5 walks a game, are you going to be that good again if you do that again? And I just don't see that happening. And I feel like there's going to be a team out there that's going to be willing to give Blake Snell 25, $30 million a year. It might not be for 7 years like the Aaron Nola contract because Aaron Nola has a better history of giving the Phillies innings. And so I think they were more confident in giving Nola a longer term deal. But I could see it being higher AAV. And he has the stuff, no doubt about that. It's just the consistency part is the question. And where the Padres are at, do they want another $20+ million AAV contract on the books? Can they even do that with some of the enforcements it feels like is going to be placed on them by Major League Baseball, by ownership, Eric Kutsenda, and everyone that's running that now? I just don't see Blake Snell coming back. Drew Pomeranz, I think I'd place him in the Nola Hill category, like minor league invite. Maybe he comes back. I could see that, but I don't think he's coming back. I don't think the Padres are interested in giving him a major league deal. Why would they? He hasn't been able to show that he can be healthy consistently. And there was a lot of money on that contract that could have gone elsewhere had the Padres known that those injuries were going to be happening. Rich Hill, someone not going to come back. He doesn't even want to be on a team, it doesn't feel like. I think that's what his comments were at the end of the season. He doesn't want to be on a team to start the year. He feels like he has a half season in him, and he wants to give that probably to a contender middle of the year, maybe a team that doesn't get what they want at the trade deadline. He can go sign with that team. So, yeah, and even if he was available, Rich Hill, I mean, thanks, but no thanks. He just didn't really do a whole lot with the Padres. He didn't give the Padres a ton of innings. He doesn't have the velocity. I love how accountable he is to the media. I wish the other Padres players would be that accountable to the media and speak that, you know, honest about their performances. Um, so I like that, but Rich, it's about what you do on the field, and he knows it. He was critical of himself. It was not good enough. Seth Lugo already hit on him. Michael Wacha hit on him. Just feels like their markets are going to be pretty strong out there. Not like, at the top tier or even the second tier. Because like top tier, it's Yamamoto. Maybe you want to include Ohtani in there, but he's a unicorn. That's different. But like Yamamoto, Snell, Nola already signed. Guys like that, that's like top tier right now, right? I guess Yamamoto's probably a little bit above Snell because he's 25, something crazy like that. He wants teams might give him a 9-10 year deal because of how young he is at like $200 million. I don't know if Blake Snell's going to get to that. And he obviously has a lot of innings, major league innings on his arm. Well, not like Nolan Ryan innings, but you get my point. Yamamoto, though, is a risk. But below that tier is like Sonny Gray. Who are some other free agents out there? Maybe like Eduardo Rodriguez, Marcus Stroman, Brandon Woodruff, if he's healthy. I think he's like on that top tier. Jordan Montgomery, I would put on probably on that Sonny Gray tier, especially how he pitched in the postseason. But maybe like the tier below that is someone like Seth Lugo. So that's going to be a strong market because there's teams that are going to miss out on those guys, or teams that don't want to go that much, don't want to go as long as some of those starting pitchers, but they'd definitely be willing to go 3-4 years on someone like Seth Lugo, who can start. If it doesn't work out, he can pitch out of the bullpen. The velocity is there. He wants to start. Feels like he's a team player. Same thing with Michael Wacha. I just don't see the Padres being in on the. They'll be in, I guess. So I should rephrase that. I guess they'll be in on them. They'll probably be more in on. They probably want Lugo more than Wacha, but I think Waka's going to come cheaper, so probably Wacha over Lugo. But I just don't see them coming back. G-Man Choi, I don't see him coming back. Guy got 2 hits for the Padres, and it was in the same game, so kind of like Rich Hill, just didn't do a whole lot. Garrett Cooper is someone that I was kind of mixed on. I guess I could see him coming back if there's not really a market there. And the Padres, they don't really do anything in the first base DH market, and they don't want to make a trade, or they can't match up on a trade. I could see Garrett Cooper coming back. But I could also see him signing pretty early here, like early December, for a team that just wants a bench guy just to know that they have that there. Maybe the Padres are that team, but that's not a guy where I'm like, um, darn a trip. I was having a little back and forth on social media yesterday about, I think it was stuffing, because he was talking about his best Thanksgiving foods. And I said, and he didn't like stuffing, or he could do without it, I believe is what he said. And I replied back, yeah, that's a bad take on the stuffing. I'm a big fan of stuffing. And I'm trying to find this. Yeah, okay, here's his tweet. Need turkey, mashed potatoes, a homemade roll, and pumpkin pie. Want mac and cheese and sweet potato. Can do without stuffing and cranberries. I agree with the cranberries. Can do without that. I can kind of do without the turkey. I feel like that's a little bit overrated. Um, but I agree with everything else that he has there. With stuffing, can do without. And I was like, yeah, bad take on the stuffing. And he replied, says, look, I'll always eat it. It's fine, but it doesn't do much for me. And so why am I talking about that? Because I'm comparing it to someone like Garrett Cooper, where he doesn't do a ton for me. Like I wasn't like super impressed by Garrett Cooper. I'll always have him on the roster. Like I'm fine if he's on the roster if it's right for the Padres, if it's a good deal and it's cheap and all that, because he does play first base and he can DH, but he doesn't do a whole lot for me. To be honest, I know Cooper has more power than Jurickson Profar, but might as well just bring Profar back. I feel like he obviously fits the clubhouse, fits that vibe. So might as well have Profar, you know. He's cheaper. Cooper just doesn't do a whole lot. I think that they should go higher, aim higher than Garrett Cooper if they're going to go get a real first baseman, or someone that definitely can play first base, DH some. Because if not, then you might as well just roll with Kim on the roster still, although they could trade him with 1 year left for starting pitching. They'd be selling high, obviously. But just, roll Kim. Kim can play third if Manny's not ready for the start of the year. Crony, move him over to second base a little bit. Have him play first base. Probably be more comfortable at first base if he works on it again in the offseason. He played a season at first base for the most part. Yeah, Garrett Cooper. Let me know your thoughts on Garrett Cooper. He just didn't do a whole lot for me. He was better than all the other trade deadline acquisitions offensively, right? G-Man Choi, it's a low bar, but I just didn't see him as that super impactful. Maybe it was because he didn't get like a ton of playing time, I didn't think. Well, I guess he did because Crony got hurt, but when Crony was still there, it just didn't feel like there was that much of an impact from really anyone that was acquired at the deadline. That's why I thought they should have traded Hader and Snell before the deadline. Luis Garcia is someone that I could see maybe coming back, but I feel like a team would be willing to take that chance on him. And the Padres, they're trying to save money in that bullpen. Bullpen's a spot I feel like they've already identified where it's like, yep, let's try to save as much money as we can. If we can get that payroll down anywhere in that bullpen, let's do it. We saw that with the Scott Barlow move. They saved like $6 million there. Tim Hill, we saw that. I mean, Jose Espada, who probably wouldn't have been in the bullpen anyway, but just any way that they can decline some of that money that they have on the books, they're going to try to do it. So I don't see them paying Luis Garcia, bringing him back on a 1-year deal or anything like that. And then Gary as well. I just don't see it. Who are some other free agent catchers out there? The trade market, maybe there's someone that we're not thinking about. Don't the Blue Jays always have an excess of catchers? But in terms of free agents, there's Gary, obviously. Grandal, I just don't see that. Austin Hedges, it says his market value is over $4 million. The Padres wouldn't pay. If they're not going to pay Nola, they're not going to pay Hedges, right? Over $4 million. There's Martin Maldonado, but it feels like he's an Astro until he retires. Mitch Garver is an interesting one, but that's kind of like Gary Sanchez. He's probably going to get a good amount of money, him and Gary, like the highest paid catchers among these free agents. Jacob Stallings, maybe. Kurt Casale, Victor Caratini, want a reunion there. Roberto Perez, Francisco Mejia is a free agent. That's definitely don't see that happening. Tom Murphy, he's only 32. Wasn't he like the Mariners starting catcher a couple years ago? Maybe the Padres want to take a chance there. Cam Gallagher, Andrew Kisner, Sandy Leone. Best years are past him, but he would not make much money at all. And then everyone else is just like, yeah, maybe they'll sign somewhere. Jorge Alfaro is a free agent. Maybe they bring him back. But that would probably be like a minor league deal. Tucker Barnhart is available. He's fell off, though, hasn't he? So, yeah, the free agent market's not very strong. The couple guys where it's appealing, those guys might cost like $10 million a year. And the Padres probably don't want to pay that to a catcher who they probably don't want catching most of the reps anyway. I think they want to give Camposano that shot to be the starting catcher. Give him the job. So I would see it. I would think it's going to be a vet catcher who is willing to be the backup on a cheap 1-year deal. I feel like that's who would come in. Or it's a trade that we're not even thinking about. But yeah, those are the free agents I don't see coming back. Obviously, I could be wrong. Hader, Snell, Pomeranz, Hill, Lugo, Wacha, Choi, Cooper, Garcia, Sanchez. That's a lot of guys that I listed there, so that's a lot of guys that they need to replace. But I think that some of those guys will be replaced by minor leaguers, making the rookie minimum salary at the big league level, coming up, being a part of that bullpen, back end of the bullpen. I think you could see 1 or 2 minor leaguers be a part of that bench coming up here on opening day. And it's going to be interesting. I feel like there's more trades coming up for AJ because free agency, it feels like it keeps getting more expensive. And if you're signing these guys to 1-year deals, how attractive are these 1-year guys? It is Black Friday, so, discounts, sales. I feel like starting pitching wise, someone like a Jack Flaherty, Luis Severino, there's going to be interest in those guys because teams are going to think we can fix that guy and it's a 1-year deal. Let's go do it, right? The Padres, I could see doing that with at least one of those rotation spots and see what happens. Let Niebla work his magic. I think Flaherty has dealt with some injuries, but I did put this post out. Mike Schilt was the manager for Jack Flaherty's best 3 seasons. Matheny and Schilt was 2018, but there was a 3.34 ERA for Flaherty in 2018, a 1.106 WHIP, 2019 a 2.75 ERA, 0.968 WHIP, and these are the full seasons, not the short 2020. 2021 3.22 ERA and a 1.060 WHIP. So having Schilt there, Flaherty knows him, comfortable with him, and having Ruben Niebla work with Jack Flaherty. He's only 28 years old, and some people said, like, the velocity's not. I saw that on social media. Some people were like, the velocity's not there. No, this is red flag. Why are you freaking out over Jack Flaherty? But based on where the Padres are at, I feel like one of those rotation spots is going to be a spot where they have to take a risk on someone and hope that that guy can bounce back and be like a Michael Wacha for them, or be like a Seth Lugo, where it's not a ton of money and you might have to put some options in there. for that player like AJ Preller loves to do, but they just don't have a ton of room to spend. So spending a 1-year deal on a guy that's coming off a down year who's willing to take that beyond what they think is going to be a contending team, what I hope is going to be a contending team, and then they can, go into free agency after 2024 with the Padres after having a good year working with Ruben. That's what I feel like is going to happen, at least with one of those. I could see some trades happening with some of the others. And then obviously there's going to be the Julio Teherans that sign invite to spring training because the Padres, you need depth. You need those arms in spring training. You need those arms in El Paso in case injuries happen. Because, not in case, when injuries happen, because injuries are going to happen. So, yeah, that's what I got here. A little bit shorter of a show, but those are some free agents I don't see coming back. There's other free agents on the roster or in the organization, but those guys aren't like the main guys that were on the big league roster um, this past season. So if we look at and before I end here, some of these free agent starters that we could see maybe on 1-year deals, and I'm not saying these guys are coming to the Padres, but just 1-year deals. Someone like um, Hyun-Jin Ryu, Martin Perez, Alex Wood, Lucas Giolito, because he didn't perform that great with Cleveland and the Angels, Luis Severino, Corey Kluber, James Paxton, Frankie Montas. Is he healthy? Brad Keller, Eric Lauer, coming off, I think, a little bit of a down year. Wade Miley, still pitching. Kenta Maeda, he might get a year and an option. Spencer Turnbull, Julio Teheran, Dallas Keuchel, Chase Anderson, Luke Weaver, Eric Fedde, who's coming over. I think he pitched overseas. Noah Syndergaard. I don't know how much the Padres think that they could fix him, though. If you don't work with the Dodgers, I feel like that's where it's like, okay, well, you're done then. All right, that's it. Talking Friars episode 522. Reminder, SeatGeek code Talking Friars, $20 off your order. Underdog Fantasy, 100% deposit match up to $100. There's a bunch of college basketball going on with Thanksgiving tournament games, and there's NFL. There's a Black Friday game today, I believe. I think Dolphins and Jets. And then obviously over the weekend, it's rivalry weekend in college football. San Diego State playing Fresno State on Saturday. San Diego State basketball playing Cal a little bit earlier in the day. And then again, reminder, there is some sales, FOCO, breaking tea. Use that to your advantage. Want to help you out there. And then Gaglione Bros, famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries, the best garlic fries and cheesesteaks in San Diego. Main location on Friars Road. Make sure you go check them out. The link to their website is in the description. Have a great rest of your day, great weekend, everybody, and I'll talk to you next week.